Miles,
What's up, buddy?
how's it going?
Going great. Here to get my comics.
Excellent.
I'm way behind.
Would you like some beautiful comic-y goodness?
Rough Riders, Justice
Good
League,
stuff.
Batman, Power Rangers, Flash. Loving it. But, have you seen Doctor Strange yet?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I have too.
Yes.
It's so good.
It's so beautiful.
It's so amazing. Let's talk about it.
Yes, let's talk about it.
Miles here, Scott there. One of the owners here at Pastimes, where we're at.
Howdy. What's your top 3 Marvel movies?
My top 3 Marvel
Yes.
movies. Not in any particular order, but I will go Iron Man, Ant-Man, and then Doctor Strange.
Okay. I'll go Doctor Strange, Ant-Man, and Guardians of the Galaxy. Though sometimes I move back and forth with Captain America Winter Soldier. Because I absolutely love that. But then those 3 movies that I said first are the most fun. And they never I'm totally engrossed with the movie. Whereas sometimes you get taken out of the Avengers movies where you're like, why are there so much going on?
Yeah.
But these movies, you're like, hey, these guys are fun. I didn't think you could do that with Doctor Strange.
Well,
Because he's stiff.
so Doctor Strange, holy cow. I'm just gonna flat out say it right now. You need to go see this movie, and spoilers. We're gonna be spoiling the
definitely.
heck out of this.
In the comics, there's never really any physicality with Doctor Strange. He's more or less, hey, I'm doing a spell, I'm reading from the Book of Ashanti and hoary host of Haggoth, and he says all these wordy things, and you're just like, I'm so glad they left that out of the movie.
Yeah,
Because,
that would have been.
yeah,
straight
but
over
if they would have
everybody's
said something like that, there's going to be the nerds that go, oh, that was so cool. But no, they thank goodness they didn't, because that would have made the movie cheesy. They've currently made Doctor Strange a lot more accessible. And I think they probably did that in preparation for this movie, because they launched a new series about 12 months ago. And you're able to step into his world and go, oh, okay, all right, I understand everything that's going on. But if you, sometimes going back and reading old stuff, it's very wordy when you read anything from Stan Lee from the 60s. Love Stan Lee.
I'm gonna say it right now. The visual effects in this film, I definitely think this is a movie worth trying out in 3D. They're getting better at it.
I was glad that it was a colorful movie too. You know how sometimes they tend to go really dingy, and you're just like, I don't. But throughout the whole movie, it kept you engrossed. And then those fight scenes where everything's molding together, and you're just like, what's going on here? You can actually get motion sickness at certain points. But it's great, and it was well paced, and I was like, when it was over, I was like, oh, I could have watched more of that.
Yeah, extremely well paced. I think this was probably the most cohesive film that Marvel's put out.
I mean, it was the best origin movie since Iron Man, I think, because Iron Man had a good origin, and it ended perfectly. But you've got some of the other Marvel films, they kind of end where you're like, oh, well, I need to watch the next movie. Whereas this one, you don't. You don't need to watch any more, really. But you want to.
Yeah.
Because you really like every character.
This is probably my favorite Marvel film so far. How do you feel about that?
It is probably my top 3. I mean, it's probably one of the most fun of all of them, though. Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like a Marvel film.
Not
really.
at all.
It's very much like Ant-Man,
Yes.
where it kind of stands alone. It stands by itself. Now, I knew nothing about Doctor Strange going into this, and they do a good job of like teaching you everything you need to know about Doctor Strange. But how does this differ? How does the comic differ from the movie?
Doctor Strange, created by Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, in the 60s. So they were going off of all the hippie stuff. So they probably were going with how people dealt with LSD trips and how they would see these illusions and stuff like that.
Don't do drugs.
Yes, it's not good for you unless your doctor prescribes it. in the movie they used a lot of things from the old comics where you could see lots of trippy visuals and stuff, and actually, you had a lot of stuff that looked like Inception, which borrowed a lot of.
I was really worried about.
Yeah.
I was like, going into this movie, I was like, they do it more than like 3 times. I'm done with this movie.
Yeah, but when they did it, it was amazing. You had a lot of changes in characters, like Mordo is basically one of, and this is spoilers, he's one of his main enemies, but you got to see the development of that character and with each other, whereas they obviously trusted each other. I don't think that the main bad guy in the movie was actually a character in the comics.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the Mads Mikkelsen character was a new character.
Which he was fantastic.
Yeah, he was great. The entire origin with Stephen Strange, they did that pretty perfect, actually. Personality wise, I think he nailed it, because that's, Doctor Strange is arrogant. And even when he becomes the Sorcerer Supreme in the comics, he's even more arrogant because he can do whatever he wants to.
Inflates his ego.
Yeah, totally.
Now, Benedict Cumberbatch and Rachel McAdams, their chemistry was spot on. Is that a dynamic kind of, their relationship, does that exist in the comics?
Not really, no, not at first. It was more or less he basically was in his accident, destroyed his hands, and he did go searching all over the world to try to heal himself. They added the love story in there, which didn't feel forced, and it wasn't like full-on love story either, but you could tell that they had, like you said before, history with each other. You could feel that.
They have this really nice moment, and he just kind of like shuts her down, and everybody just like kind of sucks the oxygen out of the room, and everybody's just like, and that happened both times I saw it. So it's their dynamic on screen is awesome. I think we discussed this earlier, is that the acting in this is probably the best out of any Marvel film.
I mean, as far as a superhero movie, it's the closest to being a Oscar contender type performance. I mean, you'd never expect that from a superhero movie, but these guys, they had a perfect cast in this movie. That is one thing Marvel is good at. Yeah. They cast well.
Yeah, they're just getting better at it.
Yeah, every time we get a new guy, you're like, oh, wow. But this, they nailed every character in this movie. Even the supporting characters were very entertaining. I mean, Wong, like I was saying before, I wanted more of Wong, and I hate rolling.
But it made his moment sweeter.
Oh, yes.
Because I don't want them to like hush a character. I want more. So I felt like everything in this movie was the right amount. But I would agree with you for the most part. Like, I definitely wanted some more Wong. So let's talk about Chiwetel Ejiofor. Mordo, who's called what in the comics?
Baron Mordo.
Okay.
Baron Mordo.
They just kind of simplified things for us here, which is nice,
People don't know what a baron is nowadays.
Research, reading books. Who needs to do that? Anyways, like, what did you think of his character?
I enjoyed the character. I thought he was very intense and well acted, actually.
And he's one of the main bad guys of Doctor Strange, right?
Yes.
In the comics?
Yes, he is.
Which was, you've kind of mentioned this earlier, where you were glad they didn't like throw that in there like early on.
Right.
And they let that kind of stay after the credits, because you'll see that come full circle.
You'll understand.
So in the end credits, he goes and sees the guy that had fixed his whole spinal
right.
Thing.
I can't remember his name.
And so is that in the comics, is that kind of like his whole mission, is to demolish people that are using, demolish is not the right word, but like kind of take down the guys that are using the powers like in the wrong way? No. He's basically the bad Doctor Strange. Okay.
So he would work for Dormammu at certain points. They kind of took Mads Mikkelsen's character and they kind of split Mordo up, is what they kind of did.
Okay, let's talk about the Ancient One, played by Tilda Swinton. Mm-hmm. She did a fantastic job in this. Now, is her role in this character, does it exist in the comic book world?
Not in her form because it's a he.
Oh, okay.
The original one is, of course, a very ancient Asian fella.
Which they did a nice, funny bit with that.
I really enjoyed her, actually. I thought she was very well done. You could have easily just put any Asian guy in there and do that. And I know there was a lot of controversy from that they used her. But then I also liked the fact that they did explain that she was Celtic. And I was like...
Yeah, I noticed that the second time around.
I was like, oh, all right, I'm good with that.
I think that was like the most well-acted part in the entire film.
I think that changed his character right at that moment, too. Because he realized what had to be done after she's gone. He's got to take care of this guy that wants to basically let Dormammu bring the dark dimension into our world and take over. So he knew that he had to fight.
Yeah, and it solidified her reasoning why she had been pulling from the dark dimension.
Yes.
And which, you know, it makes you just kind of like want to strangle what is it?
Mordo?
Yes, Mordor. So it's like it made you want to like kind of strangle him when he's so stubborn at how Strange understands why she was doing it,
right? And
then why he did what he did with the time, like taking control of time,
which was excellent too.
Oh, that bit was amazing.
The
time loop.
Oh, the battle scene where the time is being rewound.
Talk about a body count. You actually
yeah.
Like this.
Holy crap.
You have an opportunity. There's one part where the guy's like he's flying and then he goes back into the car.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just like, wow, they went there.
Oh, there was tons of that. That was amazing where you find Wong impaled and you're like, oh god,
yeah,
and you see how they just bring
and then when he's like, no, keep doing it because he's like, you just saved my life.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought that was hilarious. The big bad guy with the big face in the dark dimension.
Dormammu.
Yeah,
which just rolls off your tongue.
It's so easily. I'm glad you said it, not me. Let's talk about him for a bit. I'm glad they didn't overload us with him, and we only saw like flickers of him throughout the film, and then when we do finally see him, he's just kind of put in his place.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't overwhelming. He was just like, oh, visually stunning, and also you had it's not like, Ultron that's through the entire movie bugging the crap out of you.
Yeah.
Chewing up the scenery. He was just like, oh, there you go. This is him.
Now, visually, that's kind of how he looks in the comics?
Yeah, he kind of looks like a matchstick head in the comics.
A matchstick head?
Yeah.
Okay.
He has a flaming head.
Oh, okay.
Marvel loves flaming heads. I mean, you got Ghost Rider.
Right.
And but they didn't show the full form, and that was kind of cool, too. Enjoyable. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, he was a good bad guy. He had his minions doing his bidding.
That's the way it should be.
And that's the way it should be.
If I was a supervillain, I'd have plenty of minions and henchmen. Why not?
Why not? And they were like glittery and fab, like they were like a part of Kesh's team or something. And like this purple like stuff around their eyes,
but not Twilighty glittery. So.
No, they weren't like diamondy, like suck your blood out. But it was awesome. Yeah. He was cool dude. Stan Lee makes his his appearance as he does in all these Marvel films. Did you? I missed it the second time I saw it. Did you happen to see what he was reading?
No, I was trying to see what he was what was he reading.
I have no idea. I missed it.
Did he say
if you know what it is, leave a comment down below. Let us know what it is.
Most definitely.
Because it obviously something was cracking him up, and I'd love to know what it was.
It was funny.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the cape.
The cape. Okay.
At one point I kind of wanted it to talk.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like Aladdin's carpet.
Oh, it totally was like Aladdin's carpet.
The moments when he protects Strange, and then when he just wraps himself around the one bad guy and just starts like knocking his head on the ground.
It was a beautiful moment.
And he clearly had been doing that for like a solid 15-20 minutes.
Oh yeah.
While Strange is on the operating table.
Well, what by seeing the mid-credit scene too, we see that there's a lot of infinite possibilities with Doctor Strange. Whereas, like, say, the Avengers, there's a certain point where you're going to go, well, you got to trade off to somebody else. But I think Doctor Strange, you could just have stories go on forever because he's dealing in dimensions, and it's going to be super fun.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
I
can't
want
wait.
to see more Doctor Strange. And he's going to be in the Avengers movie. So, there's that.
and Infinity Stone. Hello.
Yeah.
Time Stone, right? Isn't that what it is?
Yeah, the Time Stone.
Yeah. So that's what we think of Doctor Strange. We hope you enjoyed this. We plan on, hopefully you did. We plan on doing more of this. Hopefully, if you liked it. If you did, be sure to hit the like button down below. Be sure to subscribe to this channel. And by all means, leave your comments down below if you think we suck at this. If you don't agree with us, by all means, let us know if you did agree with us.
Yeah, enjoy trolling us.
Yeah, we'll enjoy you trolling us.
Yeah.
And by all means, get down here to Pastimes here in Asheville, North Carolina. Look these guys up. You guys come down here and start a conversation with us.
Yes, we'll talk to you.
Maybe. All right, so be sure to subscribe because we got some stuff that we're going to be talking about coming up, like The Walking Dead and
Star Wars. No, it's Rogue One, a Star Wars
Yes.
story. Or Star Wars story Rogue One, or we'll just say Rogue One. It involves Star Wars.
a dyslexia story.
Yes, and it has Darth Vader in it, so that's all that matters.
And there better be a lot.
Yes.
I know there's not a lot. They've already said that,
Yeah,
but
which
there
is a shame.
He needs to destroy people.
Yes. There needs to be ruthless aggression with Darth Vader.
No mercy.
Yes.